about this. Let's get going. CNN political commentator Ana Navarro and Matt Schlapp, the former political director for President George W. Bush. Path to citizenship. How will that play, Brother Schlapp?
This is all very dicey. As we know, we've been trying to get an immigration bill, or a lot of people have been trying to get an immigration reform bill through Congress for decades. And the fact that President Trump, who ran aggressively against illegal immigration and illegal immigrants being in the country, for him to bring up DACA and for him to be talking to Democrats and Republicans about this, I think you ought to give him some credit. It takes a certain amount of political courage for a Republican to talk about this, because you're right. Any kind of amnesty to anyone is controversial with a lot of Republicans and with a lot of conservatives.
Amnesty is a dirty word for them, Anna, even though I don't know why it applies to kids. I have to be honest with you, because amnesty goes to somebody's commission of a crime. Kids can't commit crimes. They can't even form criminal intent.
Most of this population, there aren't kids, though. There's a lot of adults in this population.
They're not now. There are adults. There aren't a lot of adults.
That they
what
came
matters
as
is
kids
now.
and didn't have the intent. You can't have the intent to break the law when you're 5 years old and 6 years old. They may not be kids now, but they came here as minors.
Do you think the president will stick to this, Anna?
Who the hell knows? Look, after the last 2 weeks that we've just been through, you think anybody can answer this? Not even the best fortune teller can answer this. Look, 2 weeks ago, I was out here. My heart was going pitter-patter, and I had all sorts of optimism and hope after that meeting in the White House where he talked about a bill of love and where he talked about wanting to do DACA and Dreamers and immigration reform. And like, we can do this, we can get further. And then we saw that only 48 hours later, everything had gone to hell in a handbasket. So, you know, I think that as of the last 2 weeks, we've realized that Donald Trump, negotiating with Donald Trump, dealing with Donald Trump, is dealing with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. One day he's Dr. Jekyll, one day he's Mr. Hyde. God knows what triggers him. You know, look, I think that if I was a dreamer, if my entire life and future was in limbo, I would only believe this once that
actually,
ink was dry on a bill.
If you were a dreamer, you'd be happy that a Republican president is saying, I want to find a solution to this. And as far as him changing his position when it came to the shutdown, he actually was the one that stood in one place, and the Democrats moved to where he was, which I thought was a great victory for him. And I think when it comes to this question of immigration, he's actually saying the same thing over and over and over again. We got to find something that will get through the Senate on DACA in combination with significant wall funding, in combination with ending chain migration outside the nuclear family, and then getting rid of this diversity visa lottery system. We keep saying the same things, and these Democrats and Republicans, I know because I have a lot of contacts up there, they're doing these negotiations right now, and I actually think there's a chance they can get something done. I don't think in 3 weeks, but I think there's a chance they can get something done.
Look, they can't. I agree with you. I think that the Senate can certainly get something done. I don't know how much of it can pass through the House. But I do think that we presidential leadership, and it's been sorely lacking. It has been impossible.
But you're getting it. But give him some credit. You're getting it on this.
I gave him credit 2 weeks ago, and then 2 days later he was talking about Haiti and Africa as a shithole.
Come on,
I was giving him credit 2 weeks ago.
Right,
you know, I did give him credit 2 weeks ago.
The point is this. Hold on, guys. Let's refocus the conversation.
Threw it out the window.
Let's refocus the conversation. Anna's making a good point that you should respond to. Confidence comes from consistency when it comes to leadership. He had the meeting, bill of love, then it goes away. Mick Mulvaney's on the show just a couple of days ago. I don't even know what time it is anymore, let alone what day. But he says he'll be as good on DACA as the Democrats are to him on security and the other issues.
Right.
That's not compassion. There's no such thing as calibrated compassion. But now he's saying citizenship. Can we take him at his word,
Chris,
Matt?
you've been up all day. You're working early in the morning. You're working late at night. Let me try to give you some my perspective on this.
Please.
Which is he did not reject a compromise from that group that was around the table in the cabinet room. As we all know, Lindsey Graham, who's an able legislator, ran in there with Dick Durbin for a whole other set of issues, and the president made it clear that he's not going to go to those other issues. So, back to the table.
They checked every box for him, but not to his satisfaction. They didn't ignore any of the issues.
Chris, I want to make 2 points on that. Number one, I do not agree with you on that. We've already had this conversation. But the second thing is that it's a negotiation. Guess what? Both sides are going to get to say what's acceptable and not acceptable, and they're going to have to count the votes.
I don't disagree with that.
Anna is right that there is a real question with conservatives, like myself, about what this final package looks like. I think think it is a very live wire. This very easily might not happen because they don't strike the right balance. And by the way, on immigration, it's almost impossible to find that balance. But I give the president great credit. He is trying.
Well, let's see if he sticks to this, because this is a moral position,
Look,
not just a policy one. But your final point, Anna.
We have seen in the last 10 days with the case of Jorge Rodriguez and the case of the doctor in Kalamazoo, neither of whom were dreamers, but they were very similar situations who were brought here as children. And we've seen the separation of families. We have seen the grief in the community. Republicans can't afford to see that scene played out 800,000 times all over the country.
All right, we'll see what happens. And I'll tell you what, Matt Schlapp, a bottle of what you like, if you can show me that the Graham-Durbin bill didn't check all 4 boxes, not to his satisfaction, but that they addressed it.
I'm worried that you've been drinking a bottle that you like because you're not